Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Unraveling Intellectual Property with Michael Stein. Today is part two of speaking with Jen Beckage of the Beckage firm. On part one, we had a very interesting discussion about data privacy. And today, we're going to be talking a little bit more about litigation, I guess, when things go wrong, and some AI, which is on everyone's mind. So, Jen, let's get into litigation. What do you think my audience should know?
Well, litigation's up. Having been one of the first, data breach and data security lawyers in the United States, back in, I'll say 2014, 2017, we really saw this huge wave of litigation concerning technology and how data is, stored and protected. And things simmered down a little bit, and then we'd see little blips, whether there was the biometric privacy laws, right? Um, but things are really heating up again. The last year has been a huge uptick in litigation concerning data security, data breaches, privacy, very consumer oriented usually.
What do you, pardon me, but what do you think that the uptick, and maybe you were going to get to, what do you think there's like a sudden uptick?
There's more laws and regulations that don't have a lot of jurisprudence and case law and history really explaining how they're going to be interpreted. So the plaintiff's bar, I think, sees that as, those opportunities to say, it hasn't been decided. We don't have, these case laws to rely on. It's a case of first impression. We have new technologies that we're dealing with. So I think that's part of it. There's more transparency concerning data security incidents. We've got the new SEC rule of requiring, reporting. Every state in the U.S. has reporting obligations for data security. And then I'll say, typically we see generally a rise in litigation anytime there's a potential recession or changes in administration, just more kind of economic geopolitical maybe issues that are going on, sometimes we see that litigation increase in that sense. So, I don't have a magic 8 ball to be able to tell you, what it is. I'll have to shake it and give a guess, but it could be a lot of different reasons.
And so what are some things that companies can do to avoid litigation?
No, it's a great question. One is really understanding what laws apply to them. And often I see organizations that are implementing controls and operational controls based on what they think is industry standard, or they know a competitor or a buddy someplace else, right, that has done these things. But those laws don't apply to that company, other laws do. And so they're spending a lot of time and money on things that they don't need to do and not spending that time and money on the things that they should. So this means having right policies in place, strong contractual language, having strong governance and accountability within the organization, and insurance.
And within a company, which departments are generally, because a number of my audience is, small business owners. Who's in charge of this? How do like, let's say bigger corporations tend to be able to fend for themselves. How does the small guy handle things like this?
Yeah, you could still have a requirement to have a pretty sophisticated role or person in charge of these things, but you've limited budget, or like you said, you're a solo practitioner, or have a small team. There are organizations that provide virtual services. So you could have a virtual CISO. You could have, someone who has the technology and the resources that you can hire as a contractor to help you with these things. But the first step is understanding what does apply for you to make those decisions.
And I take it that you're able to assist in doing that.
Always happy to assist with anything that an organization may need. And look, I've been a small business owner multiple times, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've owned many businesses. I get it. So I know you've got budget constraints. We can't do everything, but based on what data you have, your jurisdiction, your past history, and where you want to go, we can make some, budget conscious and stay within that budget, decisions that are really focused on the highest risks for your industry.
All right, so let's get, I mean, without getting into a lot of detail, someone's threatening, rattling, whatever. What do you do? I mean, I assume you just don't shoot something back saying no, go whatever off or whatever. Like, what should a company do when they first sense some problems?
Get a lawyer, take it seriously, because in the United States, anyone can file a lawsuit against anyone. I could sue you today, Michael. I could go and sue you today. Now I won't. And even if I did, it'd be dismissed because I don't have a claim, right? But there's nothing that prevents people. You can't stop someone really from suing you. So if someone asserts a claim, take it seriously, understand what it is, and respond appropriately. That may be a letter campaign. That may be your lawyer contacting them or their lawyer. There's a number of different ways, but typically just sweeping under the rug isn't going to fly today, especially with a lot of new privacy laws. We got to take these requests seriously, and there may even be a legal obligation for you to respond within a certain period of time.
Yeah, I guess if you miss one of those deadlines, then the action is dismissed with prejudice, or you miss out on the counterclaims, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, you could get yourself in some trouble, right? Fines, penalties. It's don't you don't need another reason, right? If there is one for them to be upset. So honor those obligations and work with legal counsel to minimize your risk. Look, I get it. No one wants to spend money on lawyers. I know I don't, right? But sometimes if you don't, you're going to spend so much more
Right.
litigating a case that you probably could have just addressed and quashed at the outset.
Yeah, I mean, I've had instances where clients have come to me and go, "Oh, the 30-day period to respond to this complaint or whatever has already expired." I'm like, "Well, what have you done? Have you done anything?" "No, I've just ignored it." And so it's like, well, it would have been nice to, as soon as something arises, to get the process moving.
Yeah, you're going to spend a lot more money, and now you've got an uphill battle, and you're coming into court, not looking your best, right? So we want everyone to look their best if they have that situation.
All right, let's get on to a topic that's near and dear to everyone's heart these days is AI. How is that impacting what you do and how you counsel your clients or implementing it in your practice or anything?
I love AI. I think everyone should use it responsibly. I got my AI certificate from MIT back in 2020. I've taught master data scientists at the State University of New York on AI and cybersecurity and ethics. I counsel small businesses to global clients on AI. It's an exciting time. What I'm finding is a lot of organizations have departments that are dabbling, and I hate the word AI, right? Because it means a lot of different things. But for purposes of this podcast, they're dabbling in something and not realizing that dabbling is now creating or has the potential to create a data security incident or a privacy violation. So once you put confidential information into an AI tool, that could be a data breach because you can't, once that toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't get it back. So you have to be really careful, or you have too many people that have access to that platform, people that shouldn't have access, and now can pull down information from your legal department, your finance team, your HR department. So going about it in a really smart, responsible way is very important.
Are we talking like open LLMs and closed LLMs and like what's
And
available?
robotics. And yeah, I mean, if you're using a chatbot, if you're using lots of staffing platforms, right, use AI. AI is embedded in everything that we use nowadays. It's been around for a really long time. It just wasn't until ChatGPT made the headlines and anyone really paid a lot of attention to it. But organizations have been doing this for a really long time. But now we actually have law. So usually law doesn't keep up with technology. But this is the first time where I feel like the law is pretty close to keeping up with it. We're starting to see a lot of changes to laws to address AI issues.
And I'm guessing you can't be totally 100% reliant. I see a lot of stories about hallucinations and incorrect. And I'm assuming that if one of whoever one of your clients or one of some businesses clients has some question or whatever, and they just spit out some wrong answer, then you could have all kinds of problems relating to the accuracy of the AI.
Oh, of course. And, I've even had clients, right, that will go in and do a search and send it to me. Oh, well, this is what, Copilot says. But I know, and I explain to them, it's part of the picture. It's not all of it. And so it's not accurate or fully correct. And it's not pointing out that you have this claim or this issue. And that's where some of that experience, comes into play. But I'll be honest with you, it will get smarter and it will get better. Just right now, you got to be very careful. Just as if you did a Google search, you can't just rely on the first thing that pops up. You've got to look at what it's citing. Where is it pulling that information from? This is just standard, research capabilities, right? Go look at what it's pulling from, and is that a reliable source or not?
People get lazy and they just rely. All kinds of attorneys are getting into trouble with turning in briefs and they didn't site check any of them. And that's just in the legal field, I'm sure. In the research field too, they just assume that some paper stands for what it says, but doesn't necessarily, or whatever the case may be.
Oh, I had a case just recently where opposing counsel inserted a search without the citing references, but just the search results of something from ChatGPT as as a fact. Um, it's crazy, right? We can't 100% rely on it. And as lawyers, we have to challenge, that accuracy. And, before we ever would even think of submitting something like that, which we wouldn't, but, something like that, you've got to do your due diligence and research.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you, Jen. Do you have any parting words for people?
Um, it's very difficult in this space to keep up with how fast things are moving. So, do your research. Again, use reliable sources and use your trusted advisors, like Michael or myself. We're always happy to jump on a call and help navigate you. We just want to see everyone be protected. But thanks again so much for the time.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Jen. We'll be posting on the podcast your contact information so people can get in touch with you should you have any concerns about data privacy, cybersecurity, or litigation in these fields. To my audience, thank you. And until next time, best of everything and take care.